The first thing I heard was her laugh. Sharp, careless, like breaking glass. My sister Maya slid my credit report across my kitchen counter like it was a menu at some cheap diner. The paper made a soft, scratching sound against the granite. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Another bank alert. Then another. Then 3 more in rapid succession. "Relax, Alyssa," she said, leaning back against my refrigerator, her arms crossed, her chin lifted. "You weren't even using that credit." I stared at the document. Maxed out cards, missed payments. Collections accounts I'd never opened. My name, my social security number. My entire financial life burned in real time while she stood there in my kitchen, unashamed, hostile, and smug. The heat climbed my neck. My fingers went numb around my phone. I scrolled through the alerts, each one worse than the last. "Maya, this is identity theft," I whispered. She rolled her eyes. "Don't be dramatic, it's family. Family helps each other." That's when I realized something horrifying. She truly believed she was entitled to destroy me. There was no guilt in her eyes, no shame, just cold calculation and a twisted sense of ownership over my entire existence. Before we go further, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from right now. I asked her to leave. My voice was steady, but my hands were shaking. She didn't move. Instead, she stepped closer, invading my space like she'd invaded my credit. Her perfume was too strong. Expensive perfume I probably paid for without knowing it. "You owe me," she hissed. The words came out like venom. "Do you know how hard my life has been? Do you have any idea what I've been through while you sit here in your perfect little apartment with your perfect little job? That doesn't give you the right to. Don't you dare," she pointed at my chest. "Don't you dare act like you're the victim here. You've always had it easier, always had everything handed to you. I needed help and you weren't there, so I helped myself." My mouth went dry. This wasn't remorse. This was rage. She was angry at me for discovering what she'd done. Angry that I dared to question her. She called me selfish, privileged, heartless, said family doesn't keep score, said I was being petty over numbers on a screen. "If you really loved me," she said, her voice dropping to something dangerous, "you'd let this go." Then she smiled, actually smiled. "Go ahead, do something about it, I dare you." My name is Alyssa Ward, and until that moment I thought betrayal came with guilt. I was wrong. I'm 29 years old. I work in corporate compliance for a mid-sized financial firm downtown. My job is simple. I find discrepancies. I trace patterns. I expose lies. I make sure people follow the rules because rules exist for a reason. My life was careful, organized. I paid my bills early. I checked my credit score monthly. I had a savings account and a retirement plan. I wasn't rich, but I was stable, secure, safe. That security took years to build. Years of saying no to things I wanted. Years of budgeting and planning and being responsible while Maya bounced from crisis to crisis. Now it was collapsing. My credit score had dropped 140 points in 3 months. I had 7 accounts in collections, 4 credit cards maxed at their limits, a personal loan I never took out, and a car lease under my name for a vehicle I'd never seen. The worst part, I didn't know until it was almost too late. Maya had been careful. She'd changed my mailing address. She'd set up email filters. She'd intercepted statements and calls. By the time I caught on, the damage was catastrophic. My phone rang. Unknown number, I answered. "Miss Ward, this is Jefferson Collections. We need to discuss your outstanding balance of..." I hung up. My hands were shaking again. 2 days later, my boss, Karen, called me into her office. She closed the door gently. That's how I knew something was wrong. Karen never closed her door unless it was serious. She gestured to the chair across from her desk. I sat. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. "Alyssa," she said carefully, folding her hands. "HR flagged something during a routine background refresh. There's a financial integrity concern." The words hit me like cold water. Financial integrity concern. In compliance, those words are a death sentence. You can't work in financial oversight if your own finances are a disaster. It's a liability, a conflict of interest, a reason to terminate. "I can explain," I started. "I'm sure you can." Her voice was kind but firm. "But protocol requires we put you under review while this gets sorted out. You'll remain on payroll, but you're suspended from client-facing work until further notice." Suspended, the word echoed in my head. I nodded, smiled, thanked her for her professionalism. I walked back to my desk like everything was fine, but inside I was screaming. Maya hadn't just stolen my money, she'd put my entire career at risk. Everything I'd worked for, everything I'd built. That night, I sat in my car in the parking garage and cried for 20 minutes. I didn't sleep that night, or the next. I spread credit statements across my bed like evidence at a crime scene. My laptop glowed in the dark, casting shadows on the walls. I built spreadsheets, timelines. I cross-referenced charges with dates and locations. I mapped out every fraudulent transaction, every forged signature, every lie. The pattern became clear. This wasn't impulsive. Maya had been planning this for months, maybe longer. She'd opened the first account in my name 6 months ago, a small credit card, $500 limit. She'd paid it off immediately to build trust. Then another card, $1,000 limit, paid off, building my credit while learning the system. Then the flood, 4 cards in 2 months, a personal loan, the car lease. She'd moved fast once she understood how it worked, and she'd been smart about it. Different banks, different addresses. She'd even forged utility bills to prove residency. I found a copy of my birth certificate in her apartment last Christmas. I thought she'd needed it for something innocent. Now I understand. She'd been preparing, gathering documents, building her plan. The rage I'd felt earlier was gone. Something colder had taken its place. Clarity. I stopped crying. I closed the laptop. I turned off the light, and I made a decision. I stopped calling Maya, stopped texting, stopped responding to her messages. She didn't notice at first. Then, after a week, she showed up at my apartment, pounded on the door. I looked through the peephole and saw her standing there, irritated, impatient. I didn't open it. "Alyssa, open up. I know you're in there." Silence. "You're being childish. We need to talk about this like adults." I sat on my couch, completely still, and waited. After 10 minutes, she left. She sent me a text 20 minutes later. "Wow, really mature." I didn't reply. Silence became my weapon. She wanted a reaction. She wanted me to scream, to fight, to give her ammunition to paint me as unstable. I refused. Instead, I watched. I monitored my accounts daily. I set up alerts for every transaction. I documented everything. 2 weeks after I stopped talking to her, she used my credit card again. A charge at an upscale restaurant downtown, $347. She'd brought friends, ordered wine, left a generous tip with my money. I took a screenshot, added it to my file, didn't say a word. She was getting comfortable, confidence. She thought my silence meant surrender. She had no idea I was building a case. My job in compliance taught me one critical truth: patterns don't lie. People do. Emotions cloud judgment. But data is pure, objective, undeniable. I started treating Maya's fraud like a work assignment. I built a forensic timeline, every transaction, every signature, every IP address used to open accounts. I requested copies of the original applications from each creditor. It took weeks. Some required police reports, some required affidavits. I filed everything properly, legally, by the book. When the documents arrived, I spread them across my dining table and studied them like sacred texts. The signatures were close. Maya had practiced. But there were tells. The loop on my lowercase O was wrong. The slant of my W was off. She'd tried to mimic my handwriting, but she'd failed. Not enough to fool a casual glance, but enough to prove forgery under scrutiny. Then I found something better: timestamps. One application was submitted at 2:15 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. I pulled my work calendar. I was in a client meeting across town. Security footage would prove I was nowhere near that bank. Another application included a utility bill as proof of address. The bill was real, but the account was mine. She'd stolen my mail, scanned it, and submitted it as hers. She was unraveling. I just had to pull the right thread. Maya went to our parents. She spun a story, said I was being cruel, unreasonable, that I'd cut her off without explanation, that she was worried about me. Mom called. Her voice was gentle, cautious. "Honey, Maya says you two are fighting. She's really upset." "I'm sure she is," I said calmly. "What happened?" "Ask her." "She says you're accusing her of something. She won't tell me what. She just keeps crying." Of course she was crying. Maya had always been good at performing vulnerability. It was her favorite manipulation tactic. Play the victim, make everyone else the villain. I'd watched her do it our entire lives. Teachers, boyfriends, employers, now our parents. "Mom, I love you, but I can't talk about this right now." "Alyssa, she's your sister. The family doesn't hold grudges." There it was, the same line Maya had used. The family doesn't keep score. The family forgives, family enabled. I felt a flash of anger, but I swallowed it. "I'm not holding a grudge, I'm protecting myself." Silence, then quietly, "From your own sister." "Yes." I hung up. My dad texted an hour later. "Whatever's going on, you need to fix it. She's family." I didn't respond. They believed her. Of course they did. Maya was the baby, the one who needed protecting. I was the responsible one, the stable one, the one who could handle anything. They didn't see her cruelty because she'd never turned it on them. I worked late every night building what I called the compliance file. It was a private, meticulous record of everything Maya had done. Dates, amounts, evidence. I color-coded entries, red for fraudulent charges, blue for forged documents, yellow for creditor communications. It was clean, professional, devastating. I contacted each creditor individually. I explained the situation calmly, provided documentation, police reports, affidavits. Most were sympathetic but bureaucratic. Fraud investigations take time. Disputes take longer. I was patient. I filed everything properly. I didn't skip steps. I didn't cut corners. I did it right. One creditor, a small credit union, was particularly helpful. The fraud investigator, a woman named Denise, reviewed my evidence carefully. "Miss Ward, this is textbook identity theft. Have you filed a police report?" "Yes." "Good. We'll launch an internal investigation. It'll take about 60 days. In the meantime, we'll freeze the account and reverse the charges." "Thank you." "I'm sorry this happened to you. Family cases are always the worst." She had no idea how right she was. When I hung up, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. Small, fragile, but real. The system was slow, but it was working. The truth was surfacing. One account at a time, my name was being cleared. Karen called me into her office again. This time, she was smiling. "Good news. The HR review came back clean. Whatever was going on with your credit, it's showing signs of resolution. You're cleared to return to full duties." Relief washed over me. "Thank you." "I have to ask, though, what happened?" I paused. I'd prepared for this question. "Identity theft, family members, I'm handling it legally." Her expression shifted, sympathy mixed with something else. "Respect, maybe. That's awful, I'm sorry." "It's being resolved." "Good." She leaned forward. "For what it's worth, you handled this with a lot of grace. A lot of people would have crumbled." I smiled tightly. I'm not most people. When I left her office, I felt lighter. My job was secure. My credit was slowly recovering. The pieces were falling into place. I hadn't confronted Maya. I hadn't screamed or threatened. I just quietly, patiently dismantled her scheme using the very skills she'd underestimated. That afternoon, I got a call from another creditor. They'd completed their fraud investigation. The debt was being removed from my file. My credit score jumped 15 points overnight. It wasn't much, but it was progress. Tangible, real, I was winning. Maya, meanwhile, was thriving, or so she thought. I saw her Instagram posts. New clothes, expensive brunches, nights out with friends. She was living a life funded by my destroyed credit, and she wasn't even hiding it. She posted a photo of herself in a designer jacket. The caption read, "Finally treating myself, I deserve this." She did it all with my money, my name, my future, and she felt no shame. In fact, she seemed proud, empowered, like she'd finally taken control of her life. She had no idea the ground beneath her was crumbling. I didn't comment on her posts, didn't engage, but I saved everything. Screenshots, timestamps, evidence. Every photo, every caption, every location tag. She was building my case for me, one selfie at a time. Then she made a mistake, a big one. She posted a photo outside a car dealership. The caption, "New wheels, finally an adult." The car in the background was a sleek black sedan. I recognized it immediately. It was the leased vehicle under my name, the one I'd never seen until now. I zoomed in on the photo. The license plate was visible. I cross-referenced it with the lease documents. Perfect match. She just publicly confessed to fraud. I downloaded the image, added it to the file, and waited. 3 weeks after I froze all my accounts, Maya left me a voicemail. Her voice was strained, frantic. "Alyssa, what the hell? My card declined. I called the bank and they said the account was frozen. Did you do this?" I saved the voicemail, played it back twice. She just admitted on a recorded line that she considered my account hers, that she expected access, that she'd been using it regularly. It was beautiful, incriminating, undeniable. She called again an hour later. "This isn't funny. I have bills to pay. I need that card." Another voicemail was saved. Another piece of evidence. She called 6 more times that day, each message angrier than the last, each one a confession. By the evening, she'd left a message so hostile, so explicit, that it sealed her fate. "You selfish bitch. After everything I've done for you, after everything this family has given you, you freeze me out over money? You're pathetic. I used your credit because you weren't using it, because you were hoarding it while I was drowning. So yeah, I took what I needed, and I'd do it again." I'd do it again. Those 5 words were everything. Premeditation, intent, lack of remorse. I played the voicemail for my lawyer the next day. She smiled. "This is prosecutable, you know that, right?" "I know. What do you want to do?" "Everything is legal. Everything is quiet. Everything is permanent." I didn't want revenge. I wanted justice. There's a difference. Revenge is loud, emotional, messy. Justice is clean, legal, surgical. I hired a lawyer who specialized in identity theft cases. Her name was Rachel Torres, and she had a reputation for being ruthless. "Your case is strong," she said, reviewing my file. "You've documented everything perfectly. Police reports, affidavits, evidence. Most victims don't do this." "I work in compliance. I know how to build a case." She smiled. "It shows. Here's what we'll do. We'll notify each creditor formally. We'll demand full reversal of all fraudulent charges. We'll pursue civil damages for emotional distress and financial harm. And if she doesn't cooperate, we'll press criminal charges." "How long will this take?" "Months, maybe a year. These things move slowly." "I can wait." And I did. I went back to work. I lived my life. I stopped checking Maya's social media. I stopped letting her occupy space in my head. I trusted the process. I trusted the law. I trusted that the truth, when properly documented, always wins. Rachel filed the paperwork, sent the letters, contacted the creditors. I didn't hear from Maya for weeks. She had no idea what was coming. The waiting was excruciating. My credit score was still damaged. Collections calls still came. I explained the situation calmly each time. "This is identity theft. I filed a police report. Here's the case number." Most backed off. Some didn't. One agency threatened to sue me. Rachel handled it. Send them a cease and desist. They disappeared. Meanwhile, my life continued. I went to work. I had dinner with friends. I pretended everything was normal. But at night, alone in my apartment, I felt the weight of it. The betrayal. The violation. The exhaustion of fighting a battle most people didn't even know existed. My credit dropped another 20 points. A creditor I hadn't identified yet reported a new delinquency. I tracked it down. Another card. Another account. Maya had opened it a week before I froze everything. One last grab before the door closed. I added it to the file, contacted the creditor, filed another dispute. The process started again. It felt endless, like fighting smoke. But I didn't stop. I couldn't. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about principle. about refusing to let someone destroy me just because we shared blood. Rachel called with an update. 3 creditors have fully cleared your accounts. 2 more are in process. You're making progress. Progress? It felt too slow, but it was real. Karen called me into her office again. This time, her expression was serious. Alyssa, HR completed the audit. You're fully cleared. In fact, they're impressed with how you've handled this. They want to formally apologize for the suspension. That's not necessary. They insist. They also want to know if you need additional support, counseling, legal assistance, anything. I was stunned. I'd expected to barely survive this. Instead, I was being offered help, support, validation. Thank you, I have legal representation already, but I appreciate it. Good, she paused. Can I ask you something off the record? I nodded. How did this happen? I'd practiced this answer. Keep it vague, professional. A family member exploited my personal information. I've taken all necessary legal steps. It's being resolved. She studied me for a moment, then nodded. You're tougher than you look. I didn't feel tough. I felt tired, hollowed out, but I smiled. Thank you. That afternoon, my credit score was updated. It jumped 43 points. The reversal of 3 major accounts had finally been processed. I stared at the number on my screen. It wasn't where I'd started, but it was climbing. Slowly, steadily, I was clawing my way back. The creditors started comparing notes. That's how these things work. Fraud investigators talk to each other. They share information. They identify patterns. And Maya's pattern was becoming impossible to ignore. Her name appeared in multiple investigations now. Different banks, different agencies, all pointing to the same conclusion: she was the perpetrator. One investigator, a man named Robert Chen, called me directly. Miss Ward, I'm handling your case with Capital Bank. I've reviewed your documentation. I've also noticed similar patterns in other cases. Your sister has been busy. What do you mean? She's hit other people too. Friends, possibly coworkers, we're investigating. My stomach turned. How many? At least 3 others we've confirmed, possibly more. Maya wasn't just a thief. She was a serial fraudster. This wasn't about desperation or a one-time mistake. This was a pattern, a habit, a lifestyle. She'd been doing this for years, and I'd just been the easiest target. What happens now? I asked. We build the case, coordinate with the other victims, and when we have enough, we refer it to law enforcement. How long? Weeks, maybe a month. Okay. When I hung up, I felt something unexpected. Not anger, not satisfied, just sadness. Maya had destroyed so many lives, including her own, and she still didn't see it. Maya's phone call came at 2 a.m. I was asleep. The ringtone jolted me awake. I looked at the screen, her name glowing in the dark. I let it ring. She called again, 6 times in a row. Then she left a voicemail. Her voice was shaking, panicked. Alyssa, pick up, something's happening. The bank called, they're asking questions. They're saying things about fraud, about me. What did you do? What did you tell them? Call me back, please. I need you to call me back right now. I listened to the message 3 times. There was no apology, no acknowledgement of what she'd done. Just anger that she was facing consequences, just desperation to make me fix it. I didn't call back. I turned off my phone, and I went back to sleep. The next morning, there were 14 more missed calls, 8 voicemails, 12 texts, each one more frantic than the last. You're ruining my life. How could you do this to me? I'm your sister. Family doesn't do this to family. I read them all, saved them all, and deleted her number. I didn't block it. Blocking felt too active, too engaged. I just removed her from my contacts, reduced her to a string of digits, anonymous, powerless. Maya didn't stop. She couldn't. When I didn't respond, she escalated. She created new email accounts, sent messages through social media. She even showed up at my office. Security stopped her at the front desk. I watched from the window of the break room as they turned her away. She was shouting, gesturing wildly, making a scene. It was pathetic. But it was also tactical. She was trying to make me look unstable, trying to create a narrative where I was the aggressor and she was the victim. She told the security guard I'd stolen from her, that I was mentally unwell, that she was trying to help me. The guard didn't buy it. He escorted her out, filed a report. I thanked him, added the incident report to my file. Maya had just created more evidence against herself. Then she made her biggest mistake. She lied to the creditors, told them the charges were legitimate, that I'd given her permission, that we had a joint account agreement. She submitted forged documents to support her claims, documents that could be easily disproven. Rachel called me that evening. She's digging herself deeper. She just committed fraud on top of fraud. This is now a criminal matter. What does that mean? It means the creditors are filing charges. The police will investigate. If they find enough evidence, and they will, she'll be arrested. I felt nothing. No joy, no fear, just cold acceptance. 19. Maya's employer found out through routine background checks. She worked at a real estate office. They ran credit checks on all employees annually. Standard practice in industries handling large sums of money. When her check came back flagged for fraud investigations, they suspended her pending review. She called me from her car. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. This time her voice was different. Small. Broken. Alyssa, they suspended me. They're saying I'm under investigation. They're going to fire me. Please, I know we're fighting. I know you're mad, but I need help. I need you to tell them this is a misunderstanding. Please. I listened to the message once, then I deleted it. There was no misunderstanding. There were only consequences. Maya had spent months destroying my life without hesitation. Now hers was unraveling and she expected me to save her. I wouldn't. 2 days later, her employer terminated her. They cited the fraud investigations as a breach of trust. She posted about it on Facebook, blamed the system, blamed corporate greed, blamed everyone but herself. The comments were sympathetic at first. Then someone asked for details. She made the mistake of explaining, said she was being accused of identity theft, that it was a family issue being blown out of proportion. The comments turned. People started asking questions, connecting dots. Her public meltdown was erasing any sympathy she might have had. Our parents finally learned the truth, not from me, from a creditor who contacted them looking for Maya. They called me together. Mom was crying. Dad's voice was tight, controlled. Alyssa, is it true? Did Maya really steal your identity? Yes. Why didn't you tell us? You wouldn't have believed me. Silence, then quietly, we believe you now. It didn't feel like a victory. It felt hollow. They'd chosen Maya's narrative over mine without question. Now they believed me only because the evidence was undeniable, because creditors and lawyers and police reports left no room for doubt. She needs help, Mom said. Professional help. Yes, she does. Will you drop the charges? There it was, the ask, the expectation, the belief that family meant erasing consequences. No. Alyssa, she's your sister. And she destroyed my life. She made a mistake. She made a choice, multiple choices over months, deliberately, methodically. That's not a mistake, that's malice. Dad cleared his throat. What do you want us to do? Nothing. This isn't your fight. She's living with us now. She lost her apartment. Of course she did. Without income and with mounting debt, she couldn't pay rent. She'd been evicted. She'd lost everything. And instead of taking responsibility, she'd moved back home. Back to the place where she could play victim, where she could manipulate sympathy. I felt nothing. The lawsuit shifted. All the creditors had confirmed fraud. My name was being systematically cleared, account by account, charge by charge. The debt that had crushed me was being transferred where it belonged. To Maya, she was now liable for over $60,000, plus interest, plus legal fees. She had no way to pay for it. No job, no savings, no assets. She'd spent everything, lived beyond her means for years using other people's money. Now the bill was due and she was bankrupt. Rachel called with an update. Your credit should be fully restored within 90 days. All accounts cleared. All delinquencies removed. You'll be back to your original score, maybe higher. And Maya? She's facing criminal charges, wire fraud, identity theft, forgery. If convicted, she's looking at prison time. Minimum 2 years, possibly 5. Prison, the word hung in the air. My sister was going to prison. I should have felt something. Guilt, sadness, regret, but I felt nothing. She'd made her choices. These were the consequences. What happens next? I asked. We wait for the criminal trial. You'll likely be called as a witness. Just tell the truth. I will. When I hung up, I looked at my credit report. The number was climbing. 712. Not perfect yet, but close. I was almost whole again. Maya received the formal notices. Criminal charges filed. Court dates set. Financial judgments entered. She called me one last time. I answered. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted closure. Maybe I wanted her to finally understand. Alyssa, her voice was hoarse, defeated. They're saying I could go to prison. I know. Please, you have to help me. You have to tell them this was a misunderstanding. It wasn't. I'm your sister. You were my sister. You stopped being family when you decided I was just a resource to exploit. I was desperate. You were entitled. There's a difference. Silence, then softly, I'm sorry. The apology came too late, too hollow, too self-serving. Are you sorry you did it, or sorry you got caught? No answer. That's what I thought. I hung up, blocked the number, erased her from my phone completely. She was gone, not physically, but from my life, from my thoughts, from my future. 2 weeks later, I learned she'd taken a plea deal, pled guilty to avoid trial, sentenced to 3 years in prison, 2 years with good behavior. She'd also been ordered to pay full restitution, every cent she'd stolen. She'd be in debt for the rest of her life. I felt nothing. My credit was fully restored, 768, higher than it had ever been, all the accounts cleared, all the delinquencies removed. It was like the fraud had never happened, except it had. I'd lived it, survived it, and now I was free. I got a promotion at work. Karen called me into her office. You've shown incredible resilience this year. The partners have noticed. We'd like to offer you a senior compliance position, 20% raise, leadership responsibilities. I accepted, not because I needed validation, but because I'd earned it. I'd handled a crisis with professionalism and precision. I'd proven I could manage chaos without breaking. That night, I went home to my apartment, the same apartment where Maya had handed me that credit report, where this nightmare had started, but it felt different now. Lighter. The shadows were gone. I made dinner, poured a glass of wine, sat on my couch, and breathed. For the first time in over a year, I felt at peace. The weight was gone. The fear was gone. The anger was gone. All that remained was calm, quiet, strength. I didn't destroy Maya. Her entitlement did. Her arrogance did. Her belief that she could take it without consequences. I just refused to protect her from herself. Maya never contacted me again. Not from prison. Not after her release. We exist in separate worlds now. Parallel lives that would never intersect. Our parents tried to bridge the gap once. Asked if I'd visit her. Write to her. Forgive her. I declined. Forgiveness isn't owed. It's earned. And Maya had done nothing to earn it. She'd never taken real responsibility, never shown genuine remorse. She'd just been sorry she got caught. Sorry she faced consequences. That's not remorse. That's a regret. I moved forward, built a new life, made new friends, focused on my career. I dated, traveling, lived. I refused to let Maya's betrayal define me, refused to let it make me bitter or paranoid. She'd taken enough from me. She wouldn't take my future, too. Sometimes, late at night, I thought about her, wondered if she understood what she'd done, if she'd learned anything, if she'd changed. Then I remembered the look in her eyes that day in my kitchen, the cold entitlement, the utter lack of remorse, and I knew the answer. Some people don't change. They just get better at hiding what they are. I didn't need closure. I didn't need an apology. I didn't need Maya to acknowledge what she'd done. The justice system had done that for me. The consequences had spoken louder than any words could. What I learned was simple. You don't need to be loud to win. You don't need to scream or threaten or seek revenge. You just need to be smarter, patient, meticulous. You need to trust the process and refuse to accept disrespect, no matter who it comes from. Maya taught me something valuable. She taught me that blood doesn't mean loyalty. That family isn't a shield against consequences. That sometimes the people who hurt us most are the ones we're supposed to trust completely. But she also taught me my own strength, my resilience, my ability to survive betrayal and come out stronger. I didn't crumble. I didn't break. I calculated. I documented. I executed. And I won. Today, my credit is perfect. My career is thriving. My life is mine again. Maya is still paying off her debt, still living with the consequences of her choices. I don't celebrate that. I don't take pleasure in her suffering. I simply accept it as the natural result of her actions. What would you do in this situation? If someone you trusted completely destroyed your financial life, would you have the strength to fight back quietly? To trust the system? To wait for justice? If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe. Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever experienced betrayal from someone you trusted? How did you handle it? I'd love to hear your stories. Remember, you're stronger than you think. And sometimes, the best revenge is simply refusing to let someone else's choices destroy your future. Thank you for watching.